Have you ever stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, the world around you, what you think, what you happen to like, even, your everyday habits might be shaped by forces you don't really see?
It's a pretty big idea, isn't it? This concept of an invisible government working behind.
Have you ever stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, the world around you, what you think, what you happen to like, even, your everyday habits might be shaped by forces you don't really see?
It's a pretty big idea, isn't it? This concept of an invisible government working behind the scenes.
Exactly. And according to the sources we're looking at today, it's not just some abstract theory. It's presented as almost a basic mechanism of modern life.
Especially, yeah, in a complex democratic society like ours.
Right. So this deep dive is all about unpacking those very ideas, mainly through the eyes of Edward Bernays. People often call him the father of public relations.
And we're going straight to the source here, mostly his book from 1928, Propaganda, plus some other material we have on political leadership that touches on similar themes.
Our goal, really, is to get a handle on Bernays' perspective, which can be surprising on propaganda itself. What he thought it was, why he thought it was needed.
And how it gets used across business, social stuff, and, importantly, how it connects to politics and even how government communicates. All based strictly on the material provided, of course.
And for you, listening right now, this is just incredibly relevant, isn't it? We live in this sea of information, of messages crafted very carefully.
Yeah, understanding the thinking behind how these messages are built and spread, especially from someone like Bernays, who was there at the beginning, it gives you a different lens to look through, a critical tool, really.
So let's start with that core concept from his book. He kicks it off with a pretty bold statement.
He does. He says, the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society.
Wow. Conscious and intelligent manipulation. That really jumps out. And then he says the people who do this form an invisible government.
And he claims, right there in the source, that this group constitutes the true ruling power of society. Strong words.
But what's really interesting, and maybe a bit counterintuitive, is how the source frames it. It's not presented like some, shadowy cabal plotting in secret.
No, not really. It's presented more as a logical, almost necessary result of how democratic societies are organized. With so many people, you need some way to guide cooperation smoothly. That's the argument.
So it's less about conspiracy and more about skill. People who understand group psychology and how to influence it.
Exactly. The source says these individuals, this invisible government, they sift through all the data, they spotlight certain issues, high spotting, he calls it.
Okay.
And they basically help society agree on shared ways of thinking and behaving. It's framed as a way to avoid total confusion in everything from, economics to how we conduct ourselves publicly.
So the alternative, according to the source, would be what?
Yeah.
Having experts just decide everything for us.
Well, he mentions that hypothetical committees of wise men, but says we didn't choose that path, we chose open competition.
And that competition, he argues, needs leadership and structured propaganda to even work.
Which brings us right to that word, propaganda. He tackles it head on in the source.
Yeah, he does. He defines it pretty simply, saying it's neither good nor bad, but custom makes them so.
Right. It's just an effort directed toward gaining public support for an opinion or a course of action. That's the base definition he uses.
And he knows it's a loaded term. He mentions how it gave that decidedly sinister complexion during World War I.
Yeah, he even brings up the Scientific American magazine apparently pleading to restore the word to just its technical meaning. So he's deliberately trying to reclaim it, frame it as a neutral tool.
A necessary tool. From his perspective in the source, he argues public approval is crucial for anything big.
Absolutely. Business, politics, charities, social initiatives, none of it works, he says, without public buy-in.
Yeah.
And because it's so essential.
Propaganda needs to be organized.
Right.
Regimented is the word he uses. Systematic.
He describes it as being on all sides of us, constantly shaping our view of the world. And he makes this point that most people can't really think deeply about every complex issue.
Right, it's too much.
Exactly. So these intelligent minorities, as he calls them, need to use propaganda continuously, systematically, to get their ideas accepted by the majority. and they're eager to do it, he says.
Okay, so who are these intelligent minorities doing the regimenting? This leads to the rise of a specific profession, doesn't it?
It does. As society got more complex, he saw this need to concentrate the work of shaping opinion into the hands of specialists.
Public Relations Council.
The new propagandist, he calls them. Their job, as laid out in the source, is kind of two-way. They interpret their client, a company, an idea, whatever, to the public.
Oh.
But just as importantly, they interpret the public back to the client. They need to understand public opinion, how groups work, who the leaders are. They're analysts, really.
So they advise clients on what to do, not just what to say, to get public approval and acceptance.
Precisely. And the source says they use everything. Talking to people, letters, stage plays, movies, radio, newspapers, any channel to influence opinion.
And the source makes a point of distinguishing them from, say, just an ad agency guy.
Right. The PR Council might recommend advertising as part of a strategy, but their role is much broader. It's about the whole relationship, the whole perception. They supplement what ad agencies do.
Does the source mention any kind of ethics around this? I mean, influencing the masses?
It does, actually. Bernays suggests they have a responsibility. While they present their client's case in the best possible light, they should refuse to work with clients or products they believe are dishonest, fraudulent, or antisocial.
So there's a line they shouldn't cross, according to him.
That's the idea presented, and their influence, he suggests, is pretty significant. Pleading a case before the court of public opinion, shaping judgments.
Acting as judge and jury in the public sphere, as the source puts it.
Yeah, it's a powerful role as he describes it.
Let's make this more concrete. The source gives quite a few examples of this stuff in action, right?
Oh yeah, lots of them. In business, for instance, he talks about the toothpaste industry. Fierce competition.
So what do?
They went beyond just ads. They used propaganda, his term, through dental clinics, schools, educating people on the truth about toothpaste's benefits, basically shaping public health habits via organized messaging.
Interesting. Not just selling a product, but selling the habit.
Exactly. And then there's the fashion example bringing hats back. Remember that one?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah.
How did that work, according to the source?
Instead of just saying buy hats, they associated hats with famous artists, with influential society women, with big social events like fashion shows.
Ah, so making them desirable through association.
Yeah.
Appealing to status or fitting in?
Precisely. It's about tapping into those deeper desires. And business used it for defense, too. Damage control.
Like with rumors.
Yeah, the source mentions a false rumor about Hudson Motors stock that supposedly caused $1 million loss. They countered it with verified facts, systematically circulated.
Okay.
And another one, a rumor that the beech nut company was being sold. They didn't just deny it. They threw a big community event, a beech nut day, to build positive feeling and sort of overwhelm the rumor with goodwill.
Clever. And it wasn't just about practical things. The source mentions cars being sold based on social status.
Or making your wife happy, yeah. And pianos, not just as instruments, but creating the idea of a dedicated music room in the home, associating pianos with culture, with artists, selling an aspiration.
It wasn't limited to just making money, though. The source applies these ideas to social causes, too.
Definitely. Public health campaigns, fighting TB, lowering infant mortality, are presented as using these propaganda techniques to change behavior and save lives.
Even basic habits, like brushing teeth more often, are framed as a result of these kinds of organized efforts.
Right. And he touches on bigger social issues, too, like efforts mentioned in the source to build racial consciousness and solidarity. He cites a specific conference in Atlanta where Black and white leaders shared a platform backed by influential figures nationwide. An example of organized effort changing attitudes.
Even churches are mentioned as using advertising and organized propaganda.
Yeah, and art and science, too. Art galleries using propaganda to get public acceptance. Industries promoting industrial art by linking design